the Sustainability Fund, Suburban Regeneration Report, Events and Festivals Fund, and Heritage Grant Extension in the next 20 odd minutes, but we may have to go into lunchtime a little bit to get through it all. So Tony. Kia ora, thanks Tony.
Well, kia ora koutou. So today we bring you a proposal that's for the Sustainability Fund, which is outside the normal funding round, and the reason for that is it's because it's a time-sensitive application, but the next funding round for the Sustainability Fund is planned for September, October to avoid overlaps with the Strengthening Communities Fund, but also then to allow the new council to agree to the projects early in the new year. So the decisions for the Sustainability Fund will be made February 2023. So that's partly the reason why we brought this to you now, because it's such a long time between the funding rounds. So this application was reviewed by our normal council process to assess the merits of the project against the outcomes or the terms of reference for the fund. And the staff determined that it's a priority one application, which again is another reason we brought it to you. Just a reminder that 18% of the city's greenhouse gas emissions relate to buildings and housing, and this is one of those projects that is responding to that, because of course the Sustainability Fund was developed to respond to, to support community and business initiatives to respond to climate change. So that's the basis of this. I'm understanding there's a question. I'm happy to answer those questions later, but if I maybe just quickly give a sense of what the project's trying to deliver, and then we can talk about any questions you may have. So this is a proposal from EcoBulb, who has been a partner for quite some time with over many years with the council. They helped us with the Earth Hour events. You might recall we were encouraging people to turn off their light bulbs, and EcoBulb gave free bulbs pretty much to residents in Christchurch at the bus interchange. We gave away thousands of light bulbs. At the time, LEDs were just coming onto the market, so it was trying to encourage people to use energy efficient light bulbs. So this proposal is to establish a service which has been running elsewhere in the country quite successfully. The services elsewhere have been funded by the Ministry for Business Employment Innovation, as well as an energy hardship fund that they've set up. So they've been running those in King Country, Northland and Ashburton. And basically the service it's a very targeted service, giving people support, free light bulbs, free low flow shower heads. Then they also clean heat pumps to make sure that they're running smoothly, and then they give people advice and support on how to change or how to look at their energy provider and make changes using the Power Switch program, which is a nationally available tool which allows people to assess the best energy provider that they have. So that is pretty much all it does. It focuses on really simple interventions that can be installed at that time. So they don't give people advice. There's a little bit of advice, but they mostly install things in the house. So they come to your home, talk to you about your needs, obviously, fill in a very simple template that just understands your energy use and the energy provider you're on, and then ask, of course, if you want LED light bulbs to be installed. And they go ahead and do that, and then they change the shower head if that's what the resident wants. And then they literally take the resident through the Power Switch approach so that the resident then can see exactly what energy provider they have and the savings that may be achieved from that. So I've just received a report from EcoBulb, in fact, yesterday, that in relation to the Ashburton model, that they've been delivering savings of $700 per household with that approach. So it's a very targeted service aimed at light bulbs and water, shower heads, and homes can obviously decide what they do beyond that. But it is not a whole of home assessment. It's not a very detailed assessment of all the different options. It's just targeting those things. So that's what this funding's to support as a pilot for Christchurch for 200 households focused on energy hardship households. And the intention is to using this funding and the pilot, to craft an application to MBIE to deliver an expanded service in Christchurch, one that would service far more homes than the 200 pilot. So this is providing leverage. This funding would provide leverage for EcoBulb to go to MB to be able to secure a much greater level of funding they're talking about maybe 10,000 homes being supported in Christchurch, that sort of scale of delivery. And the reason they can deliver that scale is because it's a very simple, targeted, light touch, not a complicated whole of house, detailed assessment. So that's the essence of the service we're talking about here.
Happy to move the.
Thanks, Phil. Do I have a seconder then to get up, Mike? So it's going to be Phil and Mike. Do we have any questions? Okay, so Anne, then Tim, then Yanni.
Thanks, Tony. And just can you help us to understand how this is different from what's already being offered by other agencies in the city?
Sure, thank you. So at first glance, it might appear that this is an overlap with existing services. And look, we're so lucky to have such great services in Christchurch. So two that are quite similar, you could think, would be Community Energy Action and Energy Mate. So if I just give you a quick understanding of what those services are and how this differs, then that will answer that question. But the way that our staff view this is that this is filling a gap in Christchurch, that we currently don't have something similar to this. So Community Energy Action do provide whole-of-home advice. It's fantastic. In fact, we've been supporting them ever since the earthquakes through Build Back Smarter and now Healthy Homes Canterbury. So the whole-of-home advice they provide then for the household looks at all the different aspects of home performance, and then they give, for low-income households, some subsidies from the government, and those subsidies really relate to insulation and heat pumps, generally speaking. So that is a great level of service for the residents if they're after insulation and heat pumps, but it doesn't include light bulbs, it doesn't include low-flow shower heads, and it certainly doesn't go to understanding the energy provider that you may have, the power switch discussion. So in addition, though, because it's such a large, complicated sort of advice service, it does take longer to go through that process, and so they're not hitting as many households. So they're reaching around 500 to 600 households a year, whereas the EcoBulb service is delivering about 3,500, which is a much larger scale. Energy Mate, on the other hand, is basically designed by the energy providers and with the support of New Zealand Government to help people pay their power bills. So it's basically an advice service. Doesn't install like light bulbs and other appliances and things. It gives people tips on what they might do, and it gives people the option to move to a smooth pay system. Generally, a third of the homes visited by that service are in debt to energy providers, and it certainly doesn't give them the option to switch power providers. It's focused on, are you on the best plan for your existing power provider? So it's only limited to if you work with one of your power companies. They will come to you and talk to you about how you can pay their bills more easily. It's being delivered nationwide to about 1,000 households, mostly in the North Island. So it's actually very low uptake in the South Island, and there's the potential there to do far more. And I think it's a great idea that we should be helping those people who are struggling with their power bills to pay it off smartly. But the biggest benefit of using the power switch, where you can look at different providers, is you can save $500 just through that process alone. So an independent report looking at Energy Mate found that minimal savings for energy savings, power savings, and cost savings were made by residents about $150 per household. But that, in fact, went up. The power use went up in winter because, of course, people are finding the need for warmer homes in winter. So, in fact, the overall savings were very minimal. So that's because most of the people they service, about 85%, are already using the best tariff that those energy providers offer. So, in fact, that's a wee bit disappointing because you could think that 100% of people are given, the best tariff they are available. So most people you'd expect the energy provider to tell you there's a better option for you that they offer. So, and that's required by law. Every year, the energy providers need to give people an update on what tariff they're on. So, again, the EcoBulb proposal is quick installation of energy efficient appliances, walk through the power switch tool to give you the energy savings in about between $500 and $700 per household saved through that visit.
Thanks so much, Tony. That's really comprehensive. Tim? Okay, so it was the same question from all three of you. That's great. So we do have a mover and a seconder. Are there any further questions? No? In that case, is there any debate? No? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? I declare that carried. Thank you very much. I'm assuming all of you online are all good. Yep, some thumbs there. Most excellent. Okay. Suburban Regeneration Biennial Report.